Hello, everybody. This is Coresair Mack, president of the Illinois Mental Health Counselors Association. And today I am joined by our very own special guest, Audrey Wilson. How are you doing today?
Hi, thanks for asking. How are you? I'm excited to be here.
Yep, I am doing good also. I'm doing good also. Also, happy Monday. And looks like you're
Monday.
dry because it is super raining outside.
Yes, it is
Mhm.
miserable outside. My dog is not happy either.
Nice. All right. So, for those of you that don't know, Audrey and I, we have a little bit of history together because we were actually in the same counseling program. Right. And now she's off doing all these awesome and amazing things.
Aw.
So, all your fans want to know, though, how did you become interested in counseling?
Yeah, I was reflecting on that the other day. So I started off as actually an elementary education teacher, um, or education major, and I was going to do my student teaching in a city right outside of Detroit. And I would go every day, I'd see the same kids. And eventually I realized like these kids are not sleeping. They're not getting enough food. They're not getting enough attention. They're lacking a lot of what's necessary on Maslow's hierarchy to actually learn, right? And I couldn't help them in the way that I wanted to. So after that experience, I just switched over to psychology, not really sure what I was going to do. Um, but I ended up actually finding out that counseling was a field that I would be interested in and went down that path.
All right, perfect. So, then with that being said, what school did you go to for your undergraduate and your graduate degrees?
Yes, I went to Oakland University in Michigan. I actually ended up playing volleyball there, so that's how I ended up there. And then I came back to Northern Illinois for to finish up my undergrad and then for my master's.
All right, nice. I did not know you played volleyball there. So, were you going to go pro then? Is that what happened?
No, I just needed them to pay for my education. Essentially, I'm a twin, so it ended up working out that that would have meant a lot for my parents. So I was like, if I can get someone to pay for my school, I'll do that. So I played volleyball there.
All right, very nice. Very nice. So, then with that being said, how long have you been doing therapy for?
Since 2016, which feels like a very long time ago, but I think it's not that bad. 5, 6 years.
Hmm. Right. Or maybe actually might be more. So 10, 7 years since
7 years. Yeah,
yeah,
math
it's
is
gonna
not a
be
strong suit.
none of our strong suits, right?
So did I tell you that's why I wanted counseling?
Oh no.
I'm just kidding. I'm just
Oh, that's why I went to counseling. Because
kidding.
math was not my strong suit. Right. But I'm sure within those 7 years, you've gained a lot of knowledge and experience, right? So then what places did you start working off in your profession? And what did you learn as a result from working at those places?
Yeah. So my very first counseling ask job was doing partner abuse intervention groups for Safe Passage in DeKalb, Illinois. Um, so that was my very first go around with counseling, which is essentially it's for offenders from a domestic violence situation. People who've been accused of any sort of domestic violence have to go and do a 16-week program where myself and another facilitator would end up leading groups with a certain curriculum. So that was my very first one. And I learned a ton. It was trial by fire, right? They just kind of throw you in there, give you the curriculum, and tell you what to do. Um, so I think there was a lot of different things that came up for me. Initially, though, when I boiled it all down, we're all people, um, and everybody, I think, is trying to survive in some way or another. And I think looking at the common humanity among people usually yields the best results. So it was a very unique experience. I think I also became very aware of my presence as a woman because I did a few of the female groups, but mostly I did male perpetrator groups. And it was always interesting to watch that dynamic when I would have a male co facilitator or when I would have two women co facilitators and the different ways that they would interact with us and the different ways that I would show up in group. Um, so I think I learned mostly, again, common humanity, survival, and also a ton of information came to me about like accessibility to resources, privilege, equity. Um, yeah, I think those are the main things.
All right, perfect. Very nice. So with that being said, I mean, true, that's not really a great segue into this next question. But, one of the things I'm trying to bring more attention to is intersectionality of identities, especially
Mm.
as it relates to the counseling field. Because not only are you a woman, but you're also part of the LGBTQ plus community. Also, congratulations on your marriage. Your pictures look very nice,
Thank you
right?
so much. Thank you. That's really nice of you to say.
So then how has your experience been in the counseling field with both being a woman as well as a part of the LGBTQ plus community?
I think so. That is also something I was thinking about. It's interesting because all throughout my professional career and at every single job I was at, I was actually dating a man. So I was able to pass in a lot of ways as just hetero and kind of skate through that. And now, even now, I have passing privilege. So it has definitely changed things for me. It's, of course, a dialectic, right? We know this, of it is so incredibly helpful sometimes to be able to say, yeah, my wife and I, and have a client be like, okay, she's an ally, like she's one of me, like I get this, she's one of us. And at other times, I'm very intentional about my language and say things like, yep, I'm married to someone like who also is sort of, that sort of a thing, or like I'm married to someone who forgot to put the dog out, something along those lines, where I'm very intentional about my language, because it wouldn't be helpful for some clients to know that part of me. Um, Even just, and I mentioned this to you, Corsair, earlier, even just doing this interview, I was like, no, I'm not out to everybody of my clients. I'm out to everybody in my life, but not out to all of my clients. And I was thinking about it. And because I do have that passing privilege, I also think it's so important that I do show up in these spaces as a queer woman. I still like don't really know what label I fall under, but queer feels most fitting for me. Um, but to show up in these spaces and to make room for people who maybe don't have that privilege. I think all the time about trans women of color and how the death rates for them is just so high. And we're just, I don't know, as a profession that we're always creating spaces for those conversations. And I really appreciate you bringing this up because it is both being part of this community is the best thing. I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world. And also, I know that for some people, it's an incredibly dangerous and scary experience.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there. All
Yeah.
right. So when it comes to, creating these spaces, I know that you've been going from job to job and working, but then it sounds like you finally landed at Plainfield Wellness. Right?
Yes.
So what ultimately led you to want to work there?
I started off agency, sexual assault, domestic violence agency.
Mhm.
Then I went to a hospital setting and I loved the hospital setting because it had a group dynamic to it of I looked across the room, there was a social worker next to me and I could say, hey, what do you think I should do with this case? Like, what are your thoughts on this, this, and this? Consultation has been the best part of this job for me because I'm part of a practice with probably 30 other people, other therapists, and we are all working together, bouncing ideas off of each other. We have med providers on staff. Um, so when I found out about Oswego Plainfield Wellness, it was through someone I had worked with before. And she's like, hey, this is crazy, but I have two bosses who actually care about me and make life, make work and life work together, right? Which is so important in this field when we don't get enough balance between work and life. So I went, I interviewed, and these people genuinely care about their staff, my bosses. It's a woman owned business, which is also awesome, but they're also therapists. So it's not some CEO telling us to pump out numbers, right? It's two other therapists who will sit me down and be like, your numbers are high this week, which means they make a lot of money. But also they're like, when are you taking a break? So it's such a community family feeling. And it's different from any other place that I've worked from that sort of angle.
All right, very nice. I'm happy that they're looking out for you in that way. Not
Yeah,
a
me
lot of
too.
places do.
Yes, yes, agreed. Very much so. And I think it's so important to talk about the idea that these places exist because I think a lot of us go into this field thinking we have to pay our dues or we should be treated poorly at the beginning or paid less at the beginning. And neither of those are true. There are good people out there. It just takes a little bit of work to find them.
I 100% agree there. So I know we're getting close to time because I know you have a client, but I also want to give you the chance to shout out any work that you're doing. So are there any projects that you're currently working on that you want people to know about?
I am going to be doing a trauma training through Oswego Plainfield Wellness, and people will get CEUs for that. We don't have a hard date for that yet, but one of the modalities that I'm trained in is called cognitive processing therapy. Essentially, there are three evidence-based ways to treat PTSD. There's EMDR, there's prolonged exposure, and then there's cognitive processing therapy. Um, I try to be so mindful of accessibility to resources from that sort of an angle. And I know EMDR can cost so much money for people. And PE as well can sometimes be a very expensive training. Cognitive processing therapy, all of the material is online. They have trainings online for free. And I'm trying to also bring that into the community of, I mean, we're all, as a society, even just with COVID, we're riddled with trauma. Maybe not PTSD trauma, but also trauma in itself. So I have found that increasing accessibility to resources for people ends up benefiting everybody. So that's one of my passion projects right now, is to get working with my bosses to get a training out there for trauma treatment.
All right, very nice. I'm happy to hear it. We definitely do need a lot more of that. So I'm glad
Yes.
that you're doing it.
Yeah, happy to do it.
All right, so then as we get into our final two questions, so first of the final two, before we get to our most important question, is there anything that you would like to tell people that are starting out in the field or have been in the field for a while?
Yes. I was thinking about that too. I remember the first time, at the counseling training center at NIU and being so nervous going into it, but also so excited. And I think it all comes back to like, we're all human and being human first and showing up for people. You're going to be nervous the first couple of times, and that means you care, right? So for people who are new to this and they're anxious and they're wondering if they made the right decision, I think trusting that also means you care, and that's half the battle, right? I would also say, if you haven't worked through your own stuff, getting a therapist, especially a therapist you admire, can be such an added benefit to becoming a good therapist yourself. I think advocating for supervision is a really good idea. So if you're not getting what you need, talking with your supervisor about it, and essentially finding out where you can get what you need from that sort of an angle. And also taking advantage of free resources out there. So for me, that looked like a lot of reading of books, finding free trainings online, talking to my professors, developing a relationship with them. And also I graduated with the president, right? So like using each other as resources, because we all want to help people. And that doesn't mean just our clients, that can mean each other too.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so now then for the most important question, where can people find or contact you if they want more information or if they want to connect?
Yes, you could find me at the Oswego Wellness website, but also my personal email is A Wilson, so AWILSON at OswegoWellness.com.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. So I know we didn't
Yeah.
have a chance to get through all the interview, but that just means that we have to have you back for a part two.
Woohoo! Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, you heard it here, folks. She's ready. All right. But this is Coresair Mack, president of the Illinois Mental Health Council Association, signing out, and I'll see you all in the next interview. Take care.